Good people, good people, good people. Welcome back to the Gumtown Podcast, episode 188. I'm Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving it a shot. Today's guest is the founder and owner of Fleeton Industries LLC. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I'm sure we'll all be inspired by his story. Let's chop it up with Antowan Fleeton. Antoine, how's it going, man?
Well, how are you?
Going good, man. First things first, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to chop it up with me a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Yes, sir. Of course, here to talk about all the great things you got going on with Fleeton Industries. But before we talk business, let's get to know the man behind the brand. So you're a native of Montgomery, Alabama. What was your upbringing like in the Gump?
Um, Definitely a native. Just being transparent, life was rough for me. Yeah, like of course, came from, you know, mom and dad got divorced. Mom ended up raising me. Of course, she got married. Mom had six kids. Of course, anyone know having six kids was a challenge within itself. So financially, it was an understandable struggle there. So yeah, life was kind of hard growing up. Um, Left at 16. Um, then figured life out. Long story short.
Okay, all good, man. I appreciate you for sharing that. And in spite of what you went through, man, you made it through it. And tough life, tough upbringing, man. And I definitely appreciate you for being transparent and sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So leaving home at 16, figuring life out, figuring things out on your own. So when you finished up high school, did you go to college, military, or did you go right to work?
No, so graduating high school, I didn't go immediately to college, but I think maybe like a year later, I did attend AUM for computer science. I maybe went there for like maybe like a year and a half before I left that. But yeah, I did start a college thing. Of course, understanding now that it didn't work out for me. It wasn't my path. But yeah, definitely gave it a try after that. Just kind of figured out what I wanted to do or what I wanted to try in life. I guess more so went on the direction of a trade um, versus a degree career field.
Okay, sounds good, man. And that's great that you had that self-awareness that the college thing wasn't for you. You decided after a year it was time to make that pivot and could have easily sat in there for those 4 years and probably been unhappy once you got your degree in computer
Absolutely.
science. Yes, sir. And a trade, man. The cool thing about a trade, Antoine, it's not heavily publicized to the kids these days, but with a trade, man, you'll always be able to feed yourself, man.
Right. I always tell people uh, a trade is always for me, I think it's the way to go. Something you can always make work. Let me say
hmm
that. I feel like a trade is a necessity in life, whether it's plumbing, whether it's mechanics, like people always have cars, people there's always plumbing, so there's always work available in the ramifications of having a trade.
Yes, sir. You spot on, man. 1,000%. Like you said, when you got a trade, man, you pretty much you always in demand, and you can always figure some stuff out. And I went to college right and got my degree, and I mean, no knock on it, but I also respect people that go and get those trades, man, because it's just something that's not heavily publicized. Like everything is go to college. But I mean, shoot, man, you go get the right trade, like an HVAC or welding. You can make more than what college graduates make. That's a
Ab-
fact.
Absolutely. I feel like everybody's journey is different. So even when I advocate for trade, I'm not talking against for whatever degree that someone can get, going to a 4-year university or whatever the case may have been.
Right.
Um, I can just only advocate for what worked for me and what I did. So I kind of know based on experience that it does work. So when I
Right.
speak, I always kind of speak from my truth, if that makes sense, and not trying to offend um, the next person.
Right. Absolutely. And that's the way to go, man. I mean, like you said, you can speak from experience, and that's the best place to speak from experience, not something you read or heard, something you actually went through, man. So that's amazing. So I was looking at your bio, checking out your website, man, and just seeing some of your work and you being a triple threat in the beauty industry, skilled hairstylist, makeup artist, and fashion designer. So Antoine, tell us who were some of your early inspirations? Like when did you first discover you had this love for the beauty industry?
So for me, I didn't know that this was something that I would be doing. I tell people all the time I kind of accidentally fell into everything. Of course, for some odd reason, I've always had hairstylist friends. And kind of the start of it. was I had a friend named Derek who did hair. He would invite me to these hair battles. He competed a lot. I've always been a really creative person with a strong background in arts. And he wanted me to do makeup for his hair battle. I really hadn't done makeup professionally yet. Um, so of course, as he did the hair, I was just kind of drawing on their faces with makeup, making sure it complemented the hair. We went to the hair show and people kind of went crazy about the makeup that I had done. And I actually got a couple of people interested in hiring me on. So at that point, I've always naturally been a business person. So I was like, okay, so cool. Like I can make some money from this. So I kind of gained an interest, but the interest not because it was this ultimate love, it was almost out of opportunity, if that makes sense. So through opportunity, the passion kind of grew for the industry and what I did.
Okay, sounds good, man. And shout out to your friend Derek for giving you that opportunity. Shout out to
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. But also shout out to you for being prepared for the opportunity because it's one thing to have an opportunity, but to be prepared for it, that's important too. So when Derek called your name, called your number, like man, you was ready to step in there and do the makeup and compliment the hairstyle that he was doing for the people there. And man, that's great, man. Like preparation meets opportunity. That's what it sounds like to me.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it was.
Okay, good stuff, man. And that's amazing. So, in terms of you being a triple threat, so out of the three, which one would you say came, did all three come naturally to you, or did one take a little more work to master?
Um, if we're speaking about the technical ability, uh, I guess I could say sewing. Creatively, I've always been really, really strong no matter what it was. Just with me having a background in arts, as far as colors and shapes and things like that, makeup for sure came easy. Hair, after kind of learning the foundational things of it, the creation of things came easy. And then with my background starting in hair shows and have competitions where you are introduced to structure and different components of building hair versus a sewing or roller set, I kind of started higher up on the creative component or just the foundational building of hair. So it was almost like I kind of had to dim myself down to kind of get to the salon portion of it first. But I guess ultimately, I just enjoy being creative. Um, so if I had to say one, I definitely would probably say sewing was the hardest to learn just based on technique and technical ability. Yeah, I would say sewing.
Okay, and that makes sense just from the perspective of you saying you having that artsy background, being a creative, like actually having to
Mhm.
sit down and get technical and learn the structure of sewing. So that makes sense why that was the one that took some time to master. But hey, you got in there and figured it out, and that's what it's about.
Right.
Yes, sir. So brand names, I'm real big on brand names, and of course I know A Fleeton Industries is named after you. What exactly inspired you to name your company after yourself?
Um, just with the maturity of growing business wise, because at first, I had my first salon. It was called the Beat Boutique. Of course, it was what was trending when everybody wanted, I'll beat my face and beat this and beat that. Uh, but then it was Flawless. I went to Flawless because kind of represented growth, and I kind of started understanding business and words that are relatable and people can say and people can see. Um, and then the next level, I just kind of had to kind of push myself to the forefront so people can start putting, the person with the brand or the business. So then it started with Athlean Cosmetics. And then of course through business coaching and running into different people on a business aspect, they were like, it has to be just Athlean. So then it was Athlean Industries, which is kind of the umbrella of it all. Um, but A became kind of the brand, and then I can attach everything to A. So it was A. Cosmetics, A. Hair Extensions, A. His and Her Boutique, now A. Style headquarters. So it kind of grew into that based on the premises of kind of making sure person meets business, understanding that it's a personal brand before it's a business brand, and learning the person and the experience of the person is a big component of the business because I'm service based, if that makes sense. So I'm person led first because I'm doing the service, I'm doing the business. So I mean, I don't know if that's a right avenue or route to take, but that was kind of the route I took to get to it.
Wow, and that makes sense, man. Just hearing you break that down, just how you went through the different transitions of the brand name and where you landed now. And with this being the umbrella, yeah, it's just a creative in you, man. Like just hearing you go through the ebbs and flows and changing those names. So it makes sense why you named your company after yourself. And like you said, the personal brand aspect, you want the people to associate the person with the services, with the brand name. So yeah, man, that's dope.
Mhm.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So whenever I have entrepreneurs on the platform like yourself, I like to talk about three things: the aha moment, action, and audacity. Take us back to that moment when you first had the idea to take your love for the beauty industry and actually turn it into this business.
Mhm. I don't think my aha moment was actually love or passion into business. I've always been a businessman, meaning I've always knew how to make money or figured out how to make money. An aha moment in business was when I moved to Maryland. I got to a point where I feel like I had plateaued in Montgomery, and I felt like there was nothing else for me to do. There was no growth. I was just being kind of bored with what I was doing. So I was like, well, let me move. I chose Maryland just based on my grandmother. I'm really close with my grandmother and her wanting me to kind of move somewhere where I knew somebody, which my dad was in Maryland at the time. So when I moved, I kind of knew who to send all my clients to based on them and the person. So I was like, okay, so you can go over here. I'm gonna give you this number to go over here. I'm gonna give you this number to call this person because I kind of knew my clients and a lot of hairstylists in the city. So I kind of knew who would make a perfect match. Once I moved, all of my clients, they would call me and say stuff. I don't want to say complain, but yeah, they would complain. And I know for a fact that these people wasn't messing things up, but what the aha moment was me to me, and I'm very spiritual, so I feel like, God was trying to let me know that it's not that they were doing something wrong, that they just wasn't me. So then I understand that the experience a person have with you is almost better than the service that's rendered. With experience actually comes a little grace. And you can just kind of grow into certain things. So the aha moment for me was, okay, work on the experience. The experience is important. And then the service. Not saying to dilute the service or make it not good. Like you yourself should want to have a service. The experience is for the person. So I understood then that to even get to a certain price point, it wasn't about it wasn't always about the product, but the experience that you gave a person. So then I started looking at a lot of luxury brands, and kind of saw how it was the experience that led to the purchase. So my aha moment was when I moved to understand that business, especially in a service business or a product, to get to a certain level, it's about elevating the experience coupled with an amazing product or service, if that makes sense. So that was my aha moment for me.
Wow, man, that's a great breakdown here. You talk about that, and it's you spot on what you were just talking about in terms of people that the experience being just as important, if not as more important, as the product and service, because people won't necessarily remember. Well, yeah, people will remember the product, the service, but they'll also remember how you made them feel and what the experience was like. Like you said, like when I went over to this place of business, this person had a conversation with me. I felt like a person versus just a number. So I can
Mhm.
understand I can understand their perspective and that aha moment that you did have, and that's great, man. That's solid and that's spot on. I never really thought about it like that, but you spot on now that I'm really just hearing you break it down. The experience is just as valuable as the product and service.
Absolutely. I stand on that. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good stuff, man. And so from the time you realized you wanted to get this business off the ground and get things rocking and rolling, how long did it take you to get everything situated legally for the business, like the business name, the license, and everything to legitimize it? How long did that process take for you?
I really don't know. And it's just me being transparent again. I'm a real big person on just do the thing, fix it later. So I was just doing the thing and fixing it because even when I started doing hair, I didn't have a license. So I had to eventually go to school to get a license, and that itself was a whole process because I think I went to like three different schools before I even graduated and became a licensed cosmetologist. Um, but yeah, like I don't I really don't know the true answer to that because like I started and I just fixed it along the way, if that makes sense, just based on what I needed. Because I'm operating at this point out of survival mode. Like I don't have the back end, I don't have the financial support, like I'm in it by myself. So speaking back then. Today, I gotta make the money to survive. So all that other stuff, it's just in the back of my head right now. Yeah, I started and I fixed it as I went along. So I don't really have the answer for how long it took me because it wasn't, a priority of mine when I first started.
That's solid, and that makes sense. Like you said, it was just you, it was just you versus you. You had to figure it out, and that makes sense. You just like you said, you were taking action, fixing things as you went, and that's a great mindset to have because the opposite of that is sitting around overthinking, overanalyzing, making no money, got no clients.
Listen, I tell people all the time, if you wait for the perfect moment or the perfect amount of money, because I feel like you're always going to move the goalposts.
Right.
Like even if you get to this point, when you're even in the thought process, you're only going to think further. So the line is going to be further. You just got to get started. And like I tell people, responsibility will make you get up and do something. So a lot of times, like if you ain't not there really getting to it, you don't got no real responsibilities. Like because bills will make you figure out how to get some money. But yeah, like I tell people all the time, like you just got to do it. And sometimes the pressure can come from life. Life will pressure you to figure it out.
That's spot on. That's a gem right there. Life would
Yeah.
definitely press you to figure things out, and to that point, waiting on the perfect time. It's so funny you say that, Antoine, because it's spot on. Like we move the goalposts because we'll say, "Hey, when I save $1,000, I'm gonna start that business." Then you save 1,000. I need to save a
Let's
thousand
do
more.
it.
And before you know it, you just saved $10,000 and they took no action. And
Right.
and now you and now you're nervous because you got this nest egg that you don't want to blow. But it's crazy, man. It's just a domino effect, man. So I definitely understand why you wasn't sitting around waiting. You say, hey, I don't have a license. I'm gonna start doing hair. Hey, them bills coming, license or not. I'm finna go get paid.
Listen, I was in the house doing hair first.
Right. Respect, man. No, much respect. And that last portion, audacity, is one thing to have an idea, it's another thing to put action behind it. But to put it out to the world to be praised or criticized, that's where the audacity comes in. And just hearing you talk about your story and being in survival mode and being spiritual, sounds like you gave yourself that audacity to step out there.
Yeah, and for me, I'll tell you my journey was a little different. Like I didn't have the financial support, from family because they just didn't have it either. So just life gave me the audacity, responsibility gave me the audacity. Like it was either do or die. And I just wasn't ready to die. So I just had to do it.
Yes, sir. No doubt, man. Spot on. No doubt. It's powerful stuff. So I do gotta bag up and just ask you, man, when you made that move from Montgomery to Maryland, did you experience any culture shock? If so, what was that?
Jesus, yes. So when I first moved, yeah, I was depressed for the first few months. And it was only because I had came from a place where even as a makeup artist, I was one of the tops. As a hairstylist, I'm still in that leading pack. So when I moved, I was still operating in a full capacity of being in the top, not necessarily saying the top, but just being in that top number of hairstylists and makeup artists. So when I went to Maryland, the mentality that I had was still in Alabama. So when the work wasn't coming in, um, it was like a culture shock, but it was just based on it being unfamiliar territory. So once I, went through my little depressed, because I was probably depressed for like 2 or 3 months. Um, but of course, I always have these coaching conversations with myself and was like, you kind of know how to, even though I'm at the bottom, I'm not at the bottom because I don't have the skill set. It's just unfamiliar territory, and I know how to work my way up. So just after coaching myself, I kind of got my head back in the game, and got moving. But yeah, like when I first moved, like I was when I say depressed, I mean like in the bed all day, depressed. But yeah, that was a culture shock for me. Other than that, I'm a businessman. I don't really care about other stuff. I'm always focused on the business. So yeah, business, it was definitely a shock for me when I first moved up.
Okay, and that makes sense. Like to your point, coming from Montgomery, being in that top echelon in your space, and then getting up there to Maryland, and I mean, just hearing you talk about that. Of course, I can only imagine when you get up there to Maryland, you are a businessman, like you said. I can only imagine you had to step your game up because it was some big dogs up there. I'm assuming, I'm assuming so in that DMV area, like I'm assuming when you got up there, like there was some big dogs, and you had to step your game up. Or correct me if I'm wrong, like did you have to step your game up once you made it up there?
Um, I don't think it's more. What I will say, I feel like it's just as much talent in the South than it is up north. We just don't have the resources and opportunities to grow and showcase our work. Like once I really start putting feet to the ground, it wasn't hard for me to get to work
Mm.
because I could stand against the next person in skill set. It was just I wasn't privileged to the resources and opportunity down south. So that's why I tell people like any day, and I love my up north people, and there are some great talented people. But I will say is that the it's some people in Montgomery that can go toe to toe with some people up north. They just don't know it because of like it's just more opportunities up north and more exposure and more money and things like that. But like no, like once I got moving, it wasn't hard to move through the crowd, not for me. But I kind of understand like I'm really good with I know life is about adjusting and I'm really good with understanding a thing and making an adjustment or redirecting or rerouting, to get to the destination. Like I'm never so stuck on this is where I'm going and this is how to go. Like, nah, like I'm getting there, but it's a block here, so let me go this way to go that way. Like I'm real good with that.
Okay, sounds good. I appreciate that perspective, and that makes sense to your point. People in different regions have access to different resources than we do down south. And you said, hey, once you got in there and you realized what the play was and you made the adjustments and you got the ball rolling, like, man, you was stumping with the big dogs. At least that's what it sounded like to me.
Absolutely. Even like pricing wise, like so I have two amazing mentors, like one for gowns and one for suits.
Mhm.
Even like my gown mentor, of course, yeah. So they kind of broke me down to kind of build me up. I don't have any formal education when it comes to sewing, especially. So a lot of my stuff was hand taught. Adrian Green from, of course, Montgomery, Alabama. She was the first person, like when I really decided to let me do this thing, she kind of set me down and we would do classes at night. So she really helped me even get started. So I'm always grateful for her for that. But once I got to Maryland, and even circling back to Atlanta, I found two people that just kind of really good and had so many years of experience of what they did. So even with them just breaking me down, and building me back up, like my mentor for gowns, he was like, "How much you charging for your dresses?" And of course, in Montgomery, I had started charging $350 for dresses and I was mad because I was almost spending more money than I was making trying to make the dress. But the going price back then was like $350, $400, like $500 was like, it. And my mentor was like, you can really start your dress at $1,000, like you that good. And of course, me, I was fearful of doing it. So long story short, he was like, the next person that come in, say $3,000. So of course, like my heart is beating out my chest because I'm just scared to say the amount because of course we're in a service business, we don't get a paycheck, so you kind of want to book as the the jobs. So the bride came in. Of course, it was a bride. She only had a budget for $1,500. I knew that. But I made a promise to my mentor, so he kind of told me what to do. So of course, I got a background in art, so I had a sketch pad. How you doing? How you and your husband met? I'm having this conversation. Just kind of getting the energy going. Okay, so tell me your dream dress. All the components. So as she's telling me stuff, I'm sketching everything on my. When she get finished telling me all the things, I turn the pad around. She fell in love with the picture. I knew this woman said she only had $1,500. And I said, okay, so this dress will be $3,000. I was like, if 1,500 is your budget, we'll just have to kind of scale back and kind of redesign something within your budget. She went outside, made a phone call, and she agreed to pay the $3,000. So I'm jumping about to jump out my seat in my body because I had never been you know paid or agreed to be paid $3,000, for a gown. So then he was like, okay, so the next person say $5,000. I'm like, ain't nobody finna give me $5,000. He was like, say it. Next person came in, did the same thing because he kind of told me like how to handle a consultation. That's why I tell people your consultation is so important. It kind of sets the stage for everything in the process, the experience per se. Settle down. I said $5,000. The woman agreed to pay me $5,000, for a gown. But what that said to me was that people valued me more than I valued myself, just based on where I came from. So at that point, it was like, okay, so I just kind of took a different turn, with business. I forgot the question that you even asked telling that story. But what was the question? Or was it a question? Or what was talking about?
Man, you was cooking, man. I wasn't gonna cut you off, but basically, I was just saying, just you were talking about being able to pivot, and I was just commending you for being able to pivot. And once you realized where you were and the resources available to you, like you were able to run with the big dogs, and like pretty much like you started off just talking about that, and then you was telling that great story. But carry on, man. You cooking, man. I ain't want to cut you off.
Yeah. So even to the point of that, like I say, at that point, I realized that people value me more than I valued myself. Meaning, I didn't see myself making this amount of money for stuff, and people were willing to pay me more than I thought that I was worth. But I always tell, like when I talk to other designers or anybody in service, whether it's hair, makeup, or whatever, a lot of times people are willing to pay us more than we're willing to ask for. We never know until we ask for it. Like my mentor always said, you keep going up until the all the answers are no, and then you go down because now you've reached your max point. So it's like I don't know, like that was just amazing for me, and for me visually to see, you know, my worth and just really start asking for it. Like even with suits, like I was charging like $500 to make full suits. Like my mentor with suits, he was like, "Boy, you crazy! Like you should be making those suits for less than $1,000." But at the time, I didn't know the things that I know now. So of course, with time and maturity and understanding, like now I build a muslin shell, which is the basic cotton. I draft a pattern, cut out a muslin, which is basic cotton. So we do quite a few fittings in the cotton to make sure the vision is what you want it to be. And it fit the way you want it to fit, then that becomes your pattern. Like my process is too long for it to be $500. Like the time that's invested. So now I'm just, yeah. So now I just kind of understand business and understand the process, and you want business to make a profit. And it's okay if somebody can't afford it, they're just not a client for you. And sometimes I always tell people, I have to position myself mentally, and it's not in a conceited or biased way, but it's a privilege for me to make something for it.
Right,
It's a privilege for you to come to me too, but it worked both ways. So when I understood that, and you kind of look at luxury brand, everybody can't afford it. Sometimes that's the luxury of it, like being
right.
exclusive to a certain group of people or for certain moments. So yeah,
Right. No, that makes sense, man. And like you just said, like not realizing your worth and at the time, and it's great that you had those mentors in your ear. And it's so interesting, Antoine, hear you talking about that because it just goes back to what we hear all the time about how it takes a village, but we only hear it in the context of children. But it takes a village even when we're adults. So shout out to your village for reminding you, hey man, you charging a little too little for that project for that the
absolutely.
suits and stuff, man. And I mean, and like you were just saying, there's no reason to be hesitant about it. I mean, people should there is a privilege to wearing luxury wear. Everybody can't afford it. It's exclusive, and it is what it is. It's just the facts, man. And that's the same way the Ralph Laurens, the Versace's, RIP, the Thierry Muglers, I mean, all the big fashion designers, they don't apologize for their prices. They just is up in the store, and if you can afford it, you buy it. If you don't, you go to the next store. So that's, but so that's great.
And
That
just
go ahead.
and
My bad.
just and just with business, like people try to count what's coming in, but they don't really know what goes out.
Hmm.
And I tell people, some people prices are based on what it takes. Like if you got a studio, there's two rents and two of every bill that you got to pay. Like one thing, like even when I moved out, the reason why, so I had a two-bedroom apartment when I first started sewing, and I would set these mannequins up, and like my whole front room was just a workspace. So you would come in, I would have these mannequins set up. Okay, so my mentor told me it starts from the front door. You stage everything. If a man is coming in, you have male mannequins up with suits on it. If a female is coming in, you stage it with dresses. That's just how it was. And on your table, it was like fresh flowers. It was a whole little process to get it. So walking in, that's what you got. One of my bedrooms was my fitting room. So when I felt like it was time to expand, it was like, okay, so I didn't know anyone who had an actual studio for people to go to. So I was like, well, and I always tell people, when people say you can't watch a competition, like I think that's just the worst thing you could tell somebody. And it's not like I'm. And when I say that, I don't think you should watch them from an envious or jealous perspective. But you have to watch a competition to know what they're doing, what's working, what's not working, and how you can be different. So I found a space so people can actually come to a boutique or a studio. I made sure the studio had this room where I kind of set up an actual fitting room to elevate the experience that someone had with me. Um, but yeah, I, I'm always forgetting when I'm going with stuff for what the initial thing was.
No worries. Hey, that's the creative in you, man. Hey, man.
I'm
Hey,
gonna run with a story.
no, it's all good, but it's great stories, man. And I mean, even that part where you was talking about competitors and people saying don't watch your competition. I agree with you. I mean, you should be inspired by your competition. Like you should say, okay, such and such is doing that. How can I take what they're doing and put my own razzle dazzle with it? So that's what it's about, being inspired. I mean, I don't know what this. I don't know. I know it's a mindset. I don't know where it came from, but yeah, people had this notion of being lone wolves and figuring it all out. Man, I don't believe in reinventing the wheel, Antoine. If there's a pathway, I'm gonna take that pathway and I'm gonna put my razzle dazzle on it and make it my own. And it sounds like you've done the same thing with your business.
And I'm always, and I know every designer in the city and any designer, they should tell you. Like I'm always open with information, knowledge, wherever the question is or any help. Like because for me, I want Montgomery to reflect what the northern states reflect. And when I say I've traveled and I've learned so much, I try to help the designers here as well. But like I keep trying to tell people, especially, people feel like business is always going to be exciting. I'm like, no, like a successful business is a boring business. You found something at work and you're doing it over and over and over again. And I feel like so often people think every day is supposed to be fun. Like I enjoy what I do, but I found something at work and I'm doing it over and over and over again. And that's what a successful business is. That's what I try to explain to people. So if you're looking for fun every day, a successful business is not always fun every day. It gets redundant because you found something at work and it's repetitive.
Yes, sir. I mean that makes sense. I mean running a successful business like you've been running it, it sounds equivalent to when you're getting in shape and you got a successful diet going on. It's boring. Like it's pretty much the same stuff every day. Rice, chicken and broccoli. It ain't gonna be fun. I mean, it ain't gonna be sunshine and roses, but it's a formula that's gonna work. So that's the analogy I think of when you talk about running a successful business. It's redundant and it makes sense. And those who go on to run successful businesses, they continue to do those things over and over, and they continue to reinvent themselves, like you've done with your brand. So it all makes sense why you've ended up where you are now.
Yeah, I think you said it perfect when it was a formula that works. Like that was probably the perfect way to put it. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So you've been a full-time entrepreneur with all of these different avenues in the beauty industry that you work in. Like you were just saying a few minutes ago, traveling around the world and just in high demand. So what do you do to decompress, man? Like when you're not working and creating, like what does Antoine do to get away from it and just relax?
See, that's the thing. Like it's so crazy. Like I'm so in love with what I do. Like even if I'm not, behind the sewing machine because the bulk of it is sewing now. Everything else is kind of on the back burner. Like I only like to do hair for like photo shoots, weddings, something like that, where I can be more creative. Like the curling hair and sew-ins every day, like that's just out for me. Like I don't want to do that anymore. So even with sewing, I love sewing so much that when I'm not sewing, um, I'm probably on my phone looking at sewing tutorials, looking up fabric. Like I'm still doing something. Like I love, like I always tell people, if you're gonna show me a good time, take me to a fabric store. Like I love shopping for fabrics. So I kind of, yeah. So to decompress, like I really enjoy it. Like I may get tired of making stuff for clients, so I may make something for myself, which is something that I want to try for fun. But that's kind of what I do. Of course, I hang out with friends. I don't do too much hanging out. I'm real focused on work. Sundays I try not to do any work where I try to relax. But even like in my relaxation, I'm still learning in a sense. Like watch a how-to video. Like I just really enjoy the art or the craft of sewing. So learning new techniques is fun for me. So
Mm.
yeah.
Okay, and that makes sense, man. It reminds me of that quote I've heard before. When you find something you love, you never work a day in your life or something like that.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man. And that's great that you found that pocket. And no matter whether you are trying to decompress and relax, you're still studying your craft. You're watching how-to videos, so you just can't get away from it. So you love what you do, and that's what it's about. Finding something you love to do, and that's dope. You get a chance to do that for a living as well as working for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. So you've done great things as a businessman in this entrepreneurial space, and I know great things are coming down the pipeline, which leads to my next portion, vision. What are some of your short-term or long-term goals in this entrepreneurial space you feel comfortable sharing?
So I always tell people there's only one thing on my vision board that I have not completed yet. And that was a school. So if anybody know me, they know I really have a passion for teaching, like whether it was makeup, hair, or or sewing. Like I just love teaching and sharing information. Because I feel strongly about for me to elevate, someone has to take my place. For God to fill my cup or to continue to fill my cup, I have to empty it out. So I'm real big on let me get this out so he can give me more. So maybe in just teaching, I just feel purposeful behind teaching. So teaching, of course, or a school of beauty and fashion is the long-term goal. Short-term goals, like so I'm working on a fabric store. So hopefully by the end of this year or next year, I'll have that. But to be honest, like how I operate in life now is organically. Like just through my experience of back then, it was always trying to figure out what was next and where to go. Um, Today is just about enjoying what I do and enjoying life. And like even when I talk to students now or people now about it, I always tell people you only got one job. It's to get better. If you get better, everything else will naturally fall in place. Like with sewing, when I just start focusing on getting better, the eyes came, the clients came, the money came. Like just by me focusing on getting better at the skill set, by default, more people started booking me or more people started seeing me. But I say so often, people are looking for the people to book. Like, no, like just get better, become the expert, build the community, sell the product. That's just a business model that works. So yeah. So school long-term goal, fabric store maybe short-term goal, and like I say, anything else, I'm just enjoying the journey. So wherever it leads me. But those are the only two clear paths that I have, and I don't have a time frame on them. Like if it's meant to happen, it'll happen. When it happens, and when it happens.
That makes sense, and those are great goals, both short-term and long-term. And I have no doubt, man, just hearing your passion and your story and your drive, man, you'll make them all come to fruition.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And you said something, you dropped another gem just then when you were talking, man. You was talking about you got one job, and that's to get better. And it goes back to what you were just saying about showing up every day doing the boring stuff. That's part of the boring stuff, getting better.
Peace.
Man, that's such a gem, and I mean, it's just a gem, bro, and it's so powerful, and it's definitely blessed me hearing you say it in the moment, and somebody listen to this podcast is gonna bless them. Like we got one job to get better, because Antoine, a lot of times, and I've been guilty of it. You get focused on what can I do to for my brand to take off? Like how can I get more clientele? How can I start monetizing this? But you just gave me the answer. Just get better, and
Hmm.
all the money, all the fame, everything that one person desire, it's a byproduct of getting better, man. So I appreciate you for blessing us with that gem.
No problem.
Yes, sir.
Look,
That's powerful, man. Golly, that's I never heard it just said like that, man. It's just simple. So that's so amazing, man. And as we wrap up the podcast, I gotta ask the $1 million questions. When I started this podcast, I wanted to highlight the greatness connected to the city of Montgomery. Whether you were born here or lived here for a significant period of your life, be it college, military, or work, you being a hometown hero, I gotta ask you, Antoine, what do you appreciate the most about the city of Montgomery?
what do I appreciate the most? I guess just through my experience, I would have to say the people. Whether without the people, I wouldn't be who I am today. Like the people have supported me and they continue to support me. So I'm always grateful for that. Yeah, I would just have to say the people. Like I feel like the city. Yeah, I feel like the city really loves me, and I'm grateful to feel loved by the people in the city. Yeah, yeah.
Powerful stuff. That makes sense. Simply put, it's all about the people. So how can people connect with you? Antoine, what are your social media handles then? Website.
So my website is www.afleeton. That's my first initial last name, spell A F as in Frank, LEETON.com. Instagram is the A Fleeton. That's TheAFleeton. And of course, Facebook is my name, and that's spelled Antowan, Antowan, Fleeton, Fleeton. And TikTok, I don't even know what my tick. Let me see. I think it's DA Fleet, but I'm gonna check real fast to make sure.
All good.
Yeah, same thing as Instagram. So it's at the A Fleeton, TheAFleeton, TikTok. So those are the main three that I'm on.
Yes, sir. Too easy. And of course, I'll put all of the information in the description of the episode. Hey, Antoine, thanks again for the conversation, man. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you for having me.
Yes, sir. Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumptown Podcast. In the meantime, in between time, y'all know what to do. Be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Go on.